The world of entertainment rarely pauses. It moves at a relentless pace. Celebrities rise, fall, and rise again. New love stories bloom in the spotlight, only to vanish almost as quickly. Every few months, the public is served another tale, another headline, another romance to obsess over. Yet sometimes, a story emerges that refuses to blend into the noise. It is not scandal for clicks, not drama for the sake of virality. It is raw, human, and deeply relatable, a story that resonates, far beyond the glittering red carpets and flashing cameras. This is the story of Jennifer Hudson and Common, two giants in their respective worlds. She, a powerhouse vocalist and Academy Award-winning actress. He, a thoughtful, lyrical rapper and actor with a philosophical take on love. At first glance, their romance looked perfect, almost destined. Hollywood had a new power couple, one that fans immediately embraced as iconic. Jennifer, with a voice that could stop time, exuded strength, grace, and resilience. She had faced unimaginable personal tragedies and rebuilt herself from the ashes, emerging not just unbroken, but victorious. Her journey was legendary, from the crushing loss of her mother, brother, and nephew, to a career that defied expectations. She had lived the kind of storybooks are made of. Common, in his own right, was a figure of charm and intelligence. His lyrics revealed a man attuned to emotions, a thinker who explored love, not just as a fleeting feeling, but as an enduring philosophy. To the outside world, he was the perfect partner for someone like Jennifer, someone who had everything, yet lived with scars that needed care and respect. The public watched in awe as the early days of their relationship unfolded. Red carpets became stages for their undeniable chemistry. Hand in hand, they smiled at cameras, exchanged fleeting touches, and spoke in interviews that made the world believe in real love again. Jennifer's eyes, often guarded and reflective of years of personal loss, now sparkled with joy and a calm serenity that seemed almost miraculous. Fans devoured every image, every interview, every social media post. Hashtags like #HudsonCommonGoals and #TrueHollywoodRomance trended worldwide. Every selfie was analyzed, every gesture dissected, every glance scrutinized. The couple's energy was intoxicating, and for a brief moment, it seemed like love had indeed found its match. But as is often the case, appearances can deceive. Cameras capture smiles, red carpets capture charm, but neither reveals the quiet fissures that sometimes form behind closed doors. Slowly, subtle signs began to appear. Fans, sharp-eyed and obsessed, noticed the first hints that the story might not be as perfect as it seemed. Photos became less frequent, joint appearances became rare. Interviews that once highlighted their love grew more distant, with one rarely mentioning the other. Behind the public-facing smiles, tension simmered up. Tension is visible to the casual observer, but unmistakable to those who followed every moment. Jennifer, usually radiant, seemed to dim when Common's name was mentioned. Laughter felt forced, warmth slightly edged with caution. Meanwhile, Common began attending events alone, a slight but noticeable distance in his demeanor. He still smiled, still charmed. But there was a weight in his eyes, a sign that the carefree magic they once shared was fading. Close friends started to whisper, "Not what it looks like," they said. "There are cracks you don't." See, behind closed doors, arguments reportedly erupted, moments of emotional intensity that no camera could capture. Rumors began circulating, nothing confirmed, yet enough to spark public speculation. Allegedly, Common had been seen growing too close to other women, a pattern fans recognized from his past. Common himself had once admitted his relationship tendencies. "When things got tough, I didn't want to work through them," he confessed in an interview. "I'd tell myself this was interfering with my career, my creativity, or my best work. Those were my excuses." For someone like Common, accustomed to the highs of romance, yet prone to emotional flight, the early signs of conflict were particularly dangerous. Avoidance, self-sabotage, and a deep-rooted fear of emotional discomfort had followed him throughout. His relationships. Jennifer, despite her love and patience, was not naive. She had seen this pattern before in her own life and in the lives of others around her. Past heartbreaks had left scars that could not be ignored. Her nearly decade-long engagement to David Otunga had ended in chaos, marked by legal battles, restraining orders, and emotional turmoil. 9 years of love had been reduced to ashes, and Jennifer had spent years rebuilding her life, her independence, and her sense of security. So when Common proposed, complete with the grand gestures Hollywood loves to highlight, Jennifer's reaction was not one of cruelty nor a lack of love. It was fiara, profound, deeply rooted fear shaped by past trauma. Saying yes was no longer just an act of love, was a gamble she could not afford. Marriage symbolized risk rather than safety. Every achievement she had fought for her career, her independence, her son, her personal peace was at stake. Her refusal left Common stunned. For a man used to being adored, pursued, and desired, rejection cut deep. "My male ego. I got to work on that," he later admitted. He recognized that wounded pride can twist love into resentment for someone already sensitive to abandonment. Such a blow can erode even the strongest foundation. The story, as anyone in Hollywood knows, rarely ends quietly. Within hours, the news had become public speculation. Gossip blogs dissected every glance, every post, every interview. The rumor mill churned, fueled by public fascination with star-crossed lovers. Adding fuel to the fire was Jaguar Wright, an outspoken singer known for her fearless opinions. She shared her perspective on Common in a way that shocked fans, portraying the man known for his intelligence and calm demeanor as someone with hidden volatility, secretive behavior, and emotional inconsistencies. While nothing was legally proven, the damage in the age of social media was instant. Once Jaguar's name was linked to Common, the gossip machine roared to life. Memes, Twitter threads, and podcasts dissected every aspect of the couple's relationship, dragging Jennifer into a storm that was only tangentially related to her own actions. Behind the scenes, Jennifer was furious. She confided in friends, expressing frustration that her hard-earned reputation of grace and resilience was being tarnished by association. She had survived unimaginable personal loss, rebuilt her life, and now faced a situation where she was forced to defend her boundaries once again. Communication between the couple slowed. Texts became infrequent, phone calls short and formal, laughter rare. Jennifer, once open and warm, now maintained a protective distance. Every interaction became a subtle negotiation of trust, boundaries, and public image. Common, meanwhile, faced an internal storm. Accustomed to emotional control, he now wrestled with frustration, hurt, pride, and the realization that charm alone could not repair the damage. In interviews, he maintained composure, speaking philosophically about heartbreak. "Sometimes when things fall apart, it's God showing you what wasn't meant to be," he said. His words sounded serene, but those close to him noticed the bitterness lurking beneath. On the surface, everything appeared normal. Behind the public smiles, however, the emotional tension was palpable as paparazzi captured images of Jennifer leaving her studio, drained and avoiding questions, and Common appeared at events with new company. The narrative for fans became clear. A separation was underway. Public opinion split. Jennifer's supporters praised her strength and wisdom, while Common's fans criticized her as cold and distant. The debate intensified, with both reputations hanging in the balance. Yet, behind the flashes and tabloid headlines, the real story remained private to people who loved each other deeply, but were unable to overcome personal trauma, ego, and unresolved emotional patterns. Jennifer, who had already endured tremendous loss, refused to compromise her peace for the sake of a relationship that might repeat history. Common, facing rejection and public scrutiny, began to confront patterns he had long ignored. The tension, heartbreak, and eventual estrangement served as a stark reminder. Even Hollywood's brightest stars with talent, charisma, and apparent compatibility are not immune to the complexities of human emotion. In the end, their story was more than a tale of romance gone awry. This was a lesson in boundaries, self-respect, and the consequences of unresolved personal patterns. It was about how even the most dazzling love stories can unravel when emotional readiness, timing, and personal history collide. And this, dear viewers, was only the beginning of a journey that would reveal heartbreak, growth, and ultimately profound lessons for both Jennifer and Common. As the world continued to admire Jennifer Hudson and Common's seemingly perfect romance, the truth behind the camera told a different story. To fans scrolling through Instagram or catching glimpses on red carpets, they appeared flawless, radiating charm, sophistication, and mutual admiration. But beneath the glitz and glamour, the delicate threads holding their relationship together were beginning to unravel. It often starts subtly. A delayed response to a text, a sigh in an interview, fleeting look that doesn't meet the other's eyes. For Jennifer and Common, these subtle shifts were the first signs of tension. Their love, once unshakable and magnetic, began showing signs of strain. Hand-holding became less frequent. Smiles, though still polite, occasionally lacked warmth. The spark that had once seemed to light up entire rooms began to dim in moments of private interaction. Close friends and insiders began to notice. "It's not what it looks like publicly," one friend confided. There's tension, arguments behind closed doors, emotional confrontations that cameras would never capture. These private moments painted a picture far different from the glamorous image presented to the world, while the public consumed red carpet appearances and magazine spreads. The real emotional labor was happening in quiet spaces, behind closed doors. Common, despite his thoughtful persona and lyrical charm, had a history of emotional avoidance. In previous interviews, he had admitted, "When things got tough, I didn't want to work through them. I'd convinced myself that focusing on my career or other projects was more important than facing relationship challenges." This pattern of emotional flight was not new, and for Jennifer, who had already endured years of personal trauma, it was a source of quiet concern. Jennifer had a track record of resilience. She had survived the unimaginable, losing her mother, brother, and nephew in violent circumstances that shook her to her core. She had endured a turbulent, decade-long engagement to David Otunga, which ended in legal battles, restraining orders, and deep emotional scars. Through it all, she rebuilt her life, her career, her independence, and her sense of security. So while the public saw a confident, radiant woman, Jennifer knew the importance of protecting her emotional boundaries. Common, on the other hand, was navigating his own struggles. His public persona, calm, philosophical man with deep insights into love, was at odds with the reality of his emotional patterns. Friends observed that he often retreated when intimacy became demanding or when conflict arose. The intensity of emotions, which some might see as passion, for Common could become suffocating, prompting withdrawal or avoidance. As their relationship matured, these patterns began to clash. Jennifer, who demanded honesty, transparency, and mutual respect, often found herself facing an emotionally evasive partner. Common, used to admiration and adoration, occasionally bristled at Jennifer's insistence on equality and accountability. What had initially seemed like complementary strengths, Jennifer's strength and Common's sensitivity, now occasionally collided, creating friction that neither wanted the world to see. Red carpet events, once moments of pure joy, now held undercurrents of tension. Fans noticed. In photos, Jennifer sometimes appeared distracted, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Common, though still charming, occasionally seemed distant, his attention elsewhere. Observers online began commenting, "Something's off. Are they really okay?" While casual viewers may have dismissed it as normal celebrity fatigue, insiders knew better. These were the small, early indicators of deeper cracks forming in the foundation of a relationship built under public scrutiny. Meanwhile, gossip began circulating, as it inevitably does in Hollywood. Rumors of Common's close interactions with other women, unconfirmed but persistent, began to spread. Each rumor carried weight, not necessarily because of evidence, but because of the public's fascination with the couple. Jennifer, acutely aware of her own emotional limits and past experiences, kept her distance both emotionally and physically. Their communication shifted. Texts, once frequent and playful, became sparse. Phone calls grew shorter, often constrained by politeness rather than warmth. Conversations, when they happened, were careful, measured, almost transactional. Jennifer, protective of her heart and her hard-won peace, placed boundaries that were invisible to the public but crucial to her. Well, Friends noted that this period was transformative for both of them. Jennifer was learning to reaffirm her boundaries and protect her emotional independence, while Common faced a mirror he had long avoided. The tension between admiration and equality, affection and independence, revealed unresolved personal patterns. Common, despite his outward confidence, was forced to confront how past behaviors, avoidance, and ego could undermine love. Public appearances during this time painted a carefully curated picture. Social media posts highlighted their charm. Interviews were diplomatically phrased, and every public smile suggested all was well. But Jennifer's subtle cues a slight hesitation, thoughtful pauses. Moments of withdrawal told a different story to those who knew how to read between the lines. Fans and tabloids alike missed these quiet indicators, instead focusing on the visible spectacle, unaware of the emotional labor quietly unfolding behind the scenes. This period also coincided with an important shift in public perception. Fans, always observant, began noticing that the couple no longer shared the same frequency of appearances, no longer engaged in the same public displays of affection. Memes and online commentary speculated about the state of their relationship, and social media chatter reflected an increasing awareness that all was not as perfect as it seemed. Yet, for Jennifer, the pressure of public scrutiny added another layer of complexity. She had already survived immense personal trauma and understood that emotional boundaries were essential for long-term well-being. Meanwhile, Common's inner conflict intensified. Accustomed to being admired, pursued, and celebrated, he now faced rejection and distance from someone he genuinely loved. His public image of emotional control clashed with his private struggles, revealing the vulnerabilities that even a high-profile relationship could not mask. Friends described him as introspective during this period, wrestling with feelings of frustration, disappointment, and self-awareness. The cracks became more pronounced as time went on. Private disagreements, while discreetly handled, sometimes spilled over into tension during public events. Laughter no longer felt effortless. Smiles occasionally masked unease. Jennifer's naturally warm demeanor became guarded, protective, a reflection of her ongoing internal negotiation between love and self-preservation. Common, in turn, struggled to balance pride, vulnerability, and the desire to maintain his carefully cultivated public persona. Insiders noted that part of the tension stemmed from a clash of personal styles and emotional readiness. Jennifer, a woman who had rebuilt her life from tragedy, demanded respect, honesty, and equal partnership. Common, though deeply talented and charismatic, occasionally defaulted to patterns of admiration-seeking and emotional retreat when faced with confrontation. The interplay of these dynamics created a subtle but persistent strain, highlighting that even the most seemingly compatible couples are not immune to human complexity. During this period, the public was largely unaware of the emotional subtleties at play. Headlines focused on red carpets, award shows, and social media posts. Yet, behind the curated images, Jennifer and Common navigated a complex landscape of trust, communication, and emotional vulnerability. Every private decision, every boundary set, and every withdrawal carried significant weight, shaping the trajectory of their relationship in ways that would only become fully visible later. The lessons from this phase of their story were profound. It illustrated how patterns of avoidance, personal trauma, and unspoken fears could quietly erode even the most celebrated romance. It showed that love in Hollywood is not just about chemistry, glamour, or public approval. It requires emotional alignment, readiness, and the courage to confront personal flaws. As fans speculated, as gossip circulated, and as private tensions deepened, Jennifer and Common faced a critical choice: to confront these issues openly, risking vulnerability and potential heartbreak, or to maintain appearances and slowly drift apart. The tension between these paths defined the next chapter of their story, a chapter marked by pivotal moments, personal reckonings, and decisions that would forever alter the narrative of their love. In retrospect, the cracks that appeared during this period were not mere accidents. They were the natural result of two deeply complex individuals attempting to navigate love under the unrelenting glare of fame. They were also a testament to Jennifer's resilience and Common's need for introspection. What seemed like small tensions to the outside world were, in reality, critical signals, indicators that personal histories, emotional readiness, and patterns of behavior must be addressed before love can thrive. And so, the public watched, largely unaware, as Jennifer Hudson and Common's romance transitioned from dazzling perfection to something more fragile, human, and painfully real. What was once a fairy tale in the making was now entering a period of introspection, boundary setting, and emotional testing. The stakes were high, the emotions intense, and the eventual outcome uncertain. For Jennifer Hudson and Common, the relationship had reached a pivotal point, the kind of moment every Hollywood romance seemed destined to encounter. The world anticipated their next step, the grand gesture that would cement the fairy tale. Common, ever the romantic and philosopher of love, had planned something spectacular. A proposal, complete with the elegance and drama worthy of their public image, was set to mark the next chapter in their shared story. Yet, beneath the glittering surface, Jennifer's heart was not aligned with the narrative that fans expected. To understand her hesitation, one must first understand her past. Her engagement to David Otunga had lasted nearly a decade, filled with highs, lows, and public scrutiny that left lasting emotional scars. Court battles, restraining orders, and the chaos of repeated emotional upheavals had taught Jennifer the hard truth: love, even when passionate, could be perilous. The weight of nearly 10 years of heartbreak was a burden that could not be ignored. So when Common got down on one knee, presenting the symbol of lifelong commitment, Jennifer's response was not anger, nor a reflection of lacking love. It was fire, deeply human, profoundly understandable fear. Saying yes would not merely be a step forward in their romance, it would be a risk of losing everything she had rebuilt. Her career, her independence, her peace of mind, and her relationship with her son were all stakes too high to gamble with. Impulsively, sources revealed that Jennifer confided in close friends, expressing the depth of her concern. "I can't go through that again," she reportedly said. "I've worked too hard to rebuild my life to risk repeating history." Every decision she made reflected a protective instinct honed by survival. For Jennifer, saying yes in that moment wasn't rejection. It was an act of self-preservation. Common, for his part, experienced the proposal as more than a simple refusal. For a man accustomed to admiration, the rejection struck directly at his ego. He had always been the pursuer, the adored, the one holding the reins of romantic pursuit. Being denied, particularly after a grand gesture, was a blow that required self-reflection. Later, he admitted candidly, "My male ego, I gotta work on that." That wounded pride can twist love into resentment. In that moment, the intersection of love, fear, and pride became painfully evident, a moment where two complex individuals, each shaped by their past, faced a crossroads that would define the future of their relationship. It is crucial to understand that Jennifer's hesitation was not a reflection of a lack of love for Common. Her love was genuine, deep, and rooted in the reality of shared experiences. But love, she realized, could not override personal trauma. Marriage, for her, was not just a legal or romantic act. It was a profound commitment requiring emotional security, trust, and confidence that history would not repeat itself. The public, however, was unaware of the intricate dynamics at play. Social media erupted with speculation. Headlines splashed with phrases like "Jennifer says no" and "Common's proposal rejected." Gossip blogs dissected every angle, every public interaction, and every Instagram post for hidden meaning. Fans debated endlessly. Had Jennifer lost her feelings? Was Common at fault? Was there more to the story than met the eye? Adding complexity to the narrative was the persistent influence of Hollywood gossip culture. Once a high-profile rejection occurs, the story often escapes the control of those involved. Public perception begins to shape the narrative in ways that can feel unfair and intrusive. For Jennifer, who had survived unimaginable personal loss, this intrusion was particularly painful. She had already weathered storms that had nearly destroyed her, only to emerge stronger. Being dragged into a public spectacle due to a deeply personal decision was a violation of the trust and autonomy she had worked so hard to reclaim. Meanwhile, Common faced his own internal turmoil. The rejection triggered introspection. Who had often relied on charm and charisma to navigate relationships, he now confronted the limitations of those traits. Emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and the ability to navigate vulnerability became critical lessons. Sources revealed that he began to reflect deeply on his patterns, acknowledging that avoidance and emotional flight had affected not just this relationship, but many in his past. For Jennifer, this was a period of self-preservation and empowerment. Her boundaries, once flexible in the name of love, had become non-negotiable. Every interaction, every decision, every word spoken or withheld was measured against her long-term emotional health. She refused to compromise her peace for the sake of appearances or public approval. The proposal, while grand and well-intentioned, had inadvertently forced both of them to confront the realities of their emotional lives. This moment also underscored the contrast between public perception and private reality. Fans, enamored with the idea of a Hollywood fairy tale, could not see the nuanced internal struggles each person faced. They only witnessed the surface, a beautiful, successful couple with a dramatic refusal that became fodder for headlines. Behind that headline, however, lay a complex interplay of fear, love, trauma, and self-preservation. Jennifer's decision was also shaped by the very human instinct to protect what she had rebuilt. Her career, her achievements, her independence, and her son each represented years of effort, resilience, and emotional labor. Saying yes to a proposal without the confidence that the future would be secure was, in her eyes, too high a risk. It was not a rejection of love, it was a statement of self-respect. For Common, the rejection forced a reckoning. Accustomed to the role of the pursuer, the man in control, he now faced vulnerability in a way he hadn't before. Pride, ego, and emotional habits collided, creating internal tension. He admitted that wounded pride could distort love, turning it into resentment. And in a relationship already complicated by fame, public scrutiny, and personal histories, these feelings carried amplified consequences. Publicly, the fallout was immediate. Gossip blogs, social media, and even mainstream news outlets speculated endlessly. Every photo, every public appearance, every comment was analyzed for hidden meaning. Fans, desperate for insight, debated whether Jennifer had seen red flags, whether Common had changed, and whether the relationship could survive this emotional turning point.